Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
Radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Overnight, a federal grand jury voting to indict Donald Trump in the special counsel's investigation into his handling of classified documents. Prosecutors telling the former president to be in court on Tuesday in Miami to face arraignment. Sources telling ABC News Trump is facing multiple charges, ranging from illegal retention of government documents regarding national security, to conspiracy, to obstruction of the government's efforts to retrieve those documents. The indictment marking the first time an American president has faced federal charges. And the Justice Department appears to have compelling new evidence, including an audio recording of Donald Trump allegedly on tape admitting to keeping classified material. Quote, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. This was done by the military and given to me. And also saying, as president, I could have declassified, but now I can't. President Trump responding with fury on his social media site last night, saying he never thought it possible such a thing could happen.
What?
Calling
Justice?
it a dark day.
I'm innocent, and we will prove that very, very soundly and hopefully very quickly.
Trump has insisted all along he's done nothing wrong. After leaving the White House, Trump spent months haggling with the National Archives over whether he had returned all government records as required by law. But when the FBI learned Trump still had sensitive documents, despite his team's insistence that they had turned everything over, agents raided his home in Mar-a-Lago.
Ooh, speaking of agents, I believe right now Jack Smith is speaking to the United States and the world. Hang on, let's listen.
Investigation. Nothing more and nothing less. The prosecutors in my office are among the most talented and experienced in the Department of Justice. They have investigated this case hewing to the highest ethical standards, and they will continue to do so as this case proceeds. It's very important for me to note that the defendants in this case must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. To that end, my office will seek a speedy trial in this matter, consistent with the public interest and the rights of the accused. We very much look forward to presenting our case to a jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida. In conclusion, I would like to thank the dedicated public servants of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with whom my office is conducting this investigation and who work tirelessly every day upholding the rule of law in our country. I'm deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Thank you very much.
That's it? Oh, come on, Jack.
Why Florida, sir? Why did you decide to bring the case in Florida?
No questions? No.
Anyone that has watched.
Right, everybody's sighing. All of us are going, really, Jack? Come on, Jack. Jack! Tell the story. Tell the story of the, okay, so here's what we have now. Here's what we have. We have a speaking indictment. This is what we were, hoping we would get, right? Not just a piece of paper saying that, what Jack Smith just said, that, hey, we just, indicted Donald Trump and also Walter Nauta. Remember we were talking to you about Walter Nauta when we were talking about the pool boy story and we didn't know if that was part of it. It's not in this indictment, the pool part. There is something about the pool house. I mean, I just read it. And I have to tell you, you will love this. You will love this indictment. You know how they always say you need to look for a speaking indictment, meaning an indictment that does more than, just say we indicted and here are, the statutes that we are indicting, under. Like in this one, there's lots of statutes that they indicted under. There's witness tampering. There's there's lying to the FBI. There's obstruction of justice. There's illegal retention of documents, a conspiracy to hide the documents, a conspiracy to obstruct justice, There's all kinds of, you know how we were told yesterday, and this is why I say I don't like listening to the TV lawyers. I like to read things myself. So they were telling us yesterday that there were 7 counts in this indictment, and one was going to be conspiracy to commit a crime, meaning more than one person. There's 38 counts in this indictment, 38 counts, not 7, 38 counts in this indictment. And many of them are related to conspiracies to defraud the government, conspiracies to lie to the FBI, conspiracies to move the boxes. Literally, Walt Nauta and another guy who they're referring to as, like employee number 2. I'm guessing it's the Squid Kid. I don't know who it is. I guess it's the Squid Kid, the calamari dude, Mr. Scungili. I don't know. And his dad, the security dude, they're moving hundreds of boxes. And not only did they move hundreds of boxes from a stage area in the actual resort this is a multimedia presentation, okay? This is not just a speaking indictment. This is an indictment that has text messages and photographs and recordings and testimony and Evan Corcoran's notes. Yeah, Evan Corcoran. His notes and Christina Bob's law breaking. I mean, it is such an amazing. For those of you who are trying to wrap your brain around what happened, let me shorthand it for you. If you ever watched, if you were part of this, enormous group of Americans who were just glued to Succession. Do you know what this is? This is Tom Wambsgans and Greg, right? This is them with the cruise documents. This is what that is. And, Trump did this to himself. If Trump would have just said, my bad, I took stuff, I shouldn't have taken it, or my bad, I didn't know I took the stuff, here it is, you could take it back, here you go. None of this would have happened. None of it. It's not just the crime of taking things that didn't belong to him. It's the crime of lying about taking things that didn't belong to him and saying he didn't take things that didn't belong to him, and that if there were things that didn't belong to him at Magaloco, that they were planted by the FBI. That's how, the documents they were planted by the FBI. Then he said, oh, no, I do have things. They are mine. I was allowed to take them. And I could declassify anything in my mind if I wanted to. None of that was true. Every part of that denial of this crime, of taking things that didn't belong to him, retaining, classified, and yes, they are defense documents. Some of them were secret compartmentalized. Some of them were Five Eyes only, meaning only Australia, the UK, the 5 governments that we share intelligence with. Some of them were Five Eyes only. Some of them were satellite photographs of Iran. Others of them were, Mark Milley apparently gave him an attack plan for Iran. I don't know. This is what he said. He was waving it around and telling his staff, who were all going, yep, So now we have a problem because that's a classified document and you can't declassify because you're not president anymore. And he's like, yeah, right. Now we have a problem. I mean, it's so unbelievable what went on here. It's amazing, this indictment. Just the story is amazing. And it's all self-inflicted. None of this had to be this way. None of it. Donald Trump was given every opportunity, as was everybody who ever had classified materials in a place where they should not be. That includes Hillary Clinton, okay, who's turned over 30,000 emails. She turned them over, right? And Donald Trump refused to even acknowledge that he had in his possession classified material. He said he didn't have it, and that if he did have it, it was planted by the FBI, and then he said he did have it, and he was allowed to have it. Unfortunately for him, it's not just willful retention, wrongful retention of secret compartmentalized intelligence or unlawful. He also shared it. And that's what everybody wanted to see. Did he share this material with people not authorized to see this material? And the answer is yes. And it's actually memorialized in this indictment with a taped phone conversation between Donald Trump and his staff talking about the documents that he's waving around that he's insisting are Iran attack plans. And he does it in response to a story that was written by Susan Glasser in the New Yorker saying that Milley didn't trust Trump on his way out the door.
Clear
things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, just FYI, Fox News is not handling this, information very well.
President Trump is 76 years old. If the Department of Justice gets his way, he will die in federal prison.
Oh.
Just by one of these counts, conspiracy to obstruct justice, which has a 20-year maximum sentence. Yeah. This is a disgusting mark on American history for the future to come by these bandits in the White House, by the Democrat Party that don't play fair anymore. They don't want to just win elections. They want to take control of this country. They want one-party rule. And they have used the Department of Justice and the FBI to get what they want. Merrick Garland is a mob lawyer. That's what he is. Jack Reed is a rogue Soviet-style prosecutor.
Who's Jack Reed?
The Presidential Records Act is not a criminal statute, and it was never intended to be. The Espionage Act of 1917 was passed under Woodrow Wilson, another corrupt president. Mm-hmm. Woodrow Wilson used it to go after his adversaries, and they imprisoned 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So I suppose over there at the Department of Injustice, and this clown prosecutor spent a lot of time at The Hague. They probably figured these laws could be used to try and entrap Trump. All these obstruction issues that they claim, where the former Attorney General, Bill Barr, comes up here and bloviates about it, and all the formers coming on talking about obstruction. They have them on obstruction. There'd be no obstruction issue of any kind, not even in anybody's imagination, had they not criminalized this case. This is a document case. A document case where a president of the United States or a former president faces 100 years in federal prison? Is this some kind of a sick joke on the American people?
Oh man, Randy, you can keep Christmas. This'll do. And I'll tell you another thing. I've never watched more Fox News than I'm about to watch over the next 48 hours.
Oh, they're counting on it.
Delicious.
Oh, it's so good. But this would have to be quite a conspiracy then, wouldn't it? It would have to be a conspiracy between the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia. It would have to be a conspiracy between the Republican governor of Georgia, because, Fani Willis hasn't even gone yet with her RICO stuff. This doesn't even mention the Espionage Act, this indictment. No, this is a classic conspiracy to ferret away, to steal. That's what it. I'm going to start it. I'm going to read it for you because you need to know what this caper actually consisted of. Okay, so I'm not going to start at the beginning where they say. I'm going to start with facts, okay? And so here is the part. This is, if you're following along, if you have a copy of it, it begins on page 10, where they talk about Trump's retention of classified documents after his presidency. Okay, in January of 2021, he's not president anymore, okay? He was preparing to leave the White House. Trump and his White House staff, including this guy, Walter Nauta, who's also indicted in this indictment, as part of the conspiracy, meaning it had to be more than one person. It had to be two people or more having a meeting of the minds to do a crime, okay? And so Walter Nauta is also indicted in this particular indictment. Walter Nauta packed items, including some of Trump's boxes. Trump was personally involved in this process. Okay, so right there, his stupid little thing where, the National Archives, they're the ones that moved, or the GSA, they're the ones who moved that's a lie. That's a lie. So there's a lie. Trump caused his boxes containing hundreds of classified documents to be transported from the White House to the MAGA Loco Club. It says Mar-a-Lago Club. From January through March 15, 2021, some of Trump's boxes were stored at the Mar-a-Lago Club's white and gold ballroom, in which events and gatherings took place. Meaning this ballroom was open to the public. They include photographs of the boxes on the stage in the red and gold ballroom. Trump's boxes were for a time stacked on the ballroom stage as depicted in the photograph below, redacted to obscure the individual's identity. Well, that was kind. In March of 2021, Nauda and others moved some of Trump's boxes from the white and gold ballroom to the business center at the Magaloco Club. On April 5th, 2021, an employee at the office of Donald J. Trump, Trump Employee 1, texted another employee at that office, Trump Employee 2, to ask whether Trump's boxes could be moved out of the business center to make room for staff to use it as an office. Trump Employee 2 replied, "Whoa." Okay, so POTUS specifically asked Walter Nauda, for those boxes to be in the business center because they are his, quote, papers. Later that day, Trump Employee 1 and Trump Employee 2 exchanged the following text messages. Oh my God, they have texts. Trump Employee 2. We can definitely make it work if we move his papers into the lake room, can't we? Trump Employee 1. There's still a little room in the shower. In the shower, where his other stuff is. Is it only his papers he cares about? Because there's some other stuff in there that are not papers. Could that go into storage, or does he want everything in there on property? Employee 2, yes, anything that's not the beautiful mind paper boxes can definitely go to storage. Want to take a look at the space and start moving tomorrow morning? After the text exchange between Trump Employee 1 and 2, in April of 2021, some of Trump's boxes were moved from the business center to a bathroom and a shower at the Magaloco's lake room, which is open to the public. Okay? All right. Here's a photograph. Okay? Here's a photograph. In May of 2021, Trump directed that a storage room on the ground floor of the Magaloco Club, the storage room, be cleaned out so he could use it to store his boxes. The hallway leading to the storage room could be reached from multiple outside entrances, including one accessible from the Magaloco Club pool patio through a door that was often kept open. The storage room was near the liquor supply closet, linen room, lock shop, and various other rooms, meaning people without clearance could just happen upon these boxes and have a little look-see for their own damn selves, meaning people who actually pay $100,000 to be part of Magaloco's club could actually just go in there and see stuff in the showers, see stuff in the bathroom, see stuff on the stage. Oh, my God. It's worse. It's worse, okay? On June 24th, 2021, Trump's boxes that were in the lake room were moved to the storage room, and after the move, there were more than 80 boxes in the storage room as depicted in the photographs below. Now, I realize these are Xerox copies of the photographs, which you can actually see in color on the TV now, okay? But this is these are two pictures of boxes in the storage room. And then nobody checked on those boxes until December, okay? And then in December, Walt Nauda found several of the boxes fallen, and the contents of the boxes spilled all over the floor of the storage room, including secret documents labeled REL to USA FVEY, 5 eyes only.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844.
Very sadly, we're a nation in decline, and yet they go after a popular president, a president that got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country.
That's not
by
true.
far, and did much better the second time in the election than the first, and they go after him on a boxes hoax, just like the Russia hoax,
that was
and
real.
all of the others. It's been going on for 7 years. They can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats.
Oh, my God.
This is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. But when you look at what's happened to our country in the last 3 years, we were energy independent.
No.
We had a strong military that wasn't woke.
Still do.
We were doing so well. We were respected all over the world. Got the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history.
Tax cuts.
And what do? You have a president where an election was taken, got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, never anything even close. And they come after me.
You know, I'm thinking at this point the only thing left for him to do is the insanity plea. I don't know how else, you know, he gets out of this because they have him on tape in his own voice. You know, his lawyers who are implicated in this indictment, but obviously are not charged because they chose to cooperate and they, you know, they didn't want to. The court, they had to go to court, right? The special counsel, the Jack Smith, had to go to court in order to pierce the attorney-client privilege that people rely on when they talk to their attorneys. However, there is a caveat. There is a carve-out from the attorney-client privilege, and that is that you can't be asking your attorney, or your attorney cannot be involved in helping you commit a crime. Your attorney can only defend you against crimes that were committed without his or her help prior to you hiring them. And that in this indictment did not happen. In this indictment, Donald Trump is literally relying on his attorneys to break the law, using his attorneys and telling them to lie, telling them to destroy documents, telling them to pluck documents out of the boxes, telling them it would be better if they just got rid of the document. I mean, it's an amazing thing. And so the attorney-client privilege was pierced at a court hearing, and because the judge found that the attorneys were, if they didn't cooperate, they were helping Donald Trump commit additional crimes like witness tampering, like covering up the crime, like keeping documents that he did not have, that were subpoenaed, that were asked for, and he said he didn't have, asking the attorneys to sign off on the fact that they didn't have these documents when clearly they did. So the attorneys, were helping him commit a crime. The judge said, yeah, that's what's going on here. And so now the attorneys have to turn everything over. And so Evan Corcoran is quoted widely, and the tapes and his notes are quoted widely in this indictment. And I mean, it's unbelievable to have Trump in his own words, to have Trump in his own voice actually telling his lawyers to commit crimes for him. I mean, I don't know how he gets out. So I'm saying like maybe an insanity plea. Anyway, we left off where obviously on December 7th, Walter Nauta goes to the storage room and he notices that the boxes fell and that they're spilled all over the floor. And that's when he sees that these are severely top secret, compartmentalized intelligence documents. I don't even know if he knew what these markings meant, except that he knew that they were secret because they said secret on them. And FVEY, which is Five Eyes only, that means that the document is only releasable to Five Eyes intelligence operators in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and the United States. That's it. See, those that's the stage. I don't know why I'm showing that now. But Nauta texted Trump's employee number 2, and he said, I opened the door and I found this. And he attached 2 photos where he took a photo of the spill, okay? And I don't think I have that, but that's what you should be showing here if you had that. 2 photographs that he took of the spill. And when you see the photograph, you see all these documents just splayed on the floor. And the employee number 2 texts employee number 1, oh no, oh no. And then he says, I'm sorry, POTUS had my phone. Which means Donald Trump uses employees' phones to send messages so that they're not traceable to him. That's also another clue about how he operates in the shadows. He also uses burner phones, which we learn in the, in the bowels of this indictment. We also learn that he doesn't use email and he never puts anything in writing, and he doesn't say, just like Michael Cohen told you, he doesn't say, oh, I want this guy removed, or I want this guy beheaded, or I want this guy killed, or I want this guy, or... No, he just intimates. He just says enough words that you know exactly, or he motions and you know exactly what he wants to do. Anyway, he says, oh no, I'm sorry, POTUS had my phone. And one of the photographs that Walter Nauta texted to employee number 2 is, where the documents are spilled all over the floor, and that's count 8 of this indictment, okay, with the careless retention of documents. All right. Then in May of 2021, it says Trump caused some of his boxes to be brought to his summer house in Bedminster, New Jersey. Now, that was this right here is the answer to the question we had about whether or not Donald Trump actually took those documents and moved them to New Jersey. Remember when Magaloka was searched and we were all wondering what happened in New Jersey? What happened to the other house, right? Well, apparently, like the Magaloka Club, Bedminster was also not an authorized location for the storage or the possession or the review or the display or the discussion of classified documents because it's not a secure location, not a SCIF, right? But he did bring a whole bunch of documents to New Jersey. Then on July 21st, 2021, when he was no longer president, obviously, Trump gave an interview at his office in Bedminster to a writer and a publisher. And this was the Mark Meadows book discussion, right? Where this writer, this publisher, were going to write Mark Meadows, White House experience, over Mark Meadows' name, and Mark Meadows would make money off of his book. Okay, and so they were talking to Trump about Mark Meadows in Bedminster, and 2 members of the staff, Trump's staff, were in that interview, and that interview was recorded with Trump's knowledge and with Trump's consent, in case you were wondering. And before the interview, the media had published reports that at the end of Trump's term as president, Mark Milley, in this indictment it says a senior military official, but we know it's Mark Milley, feared that Trump would order an attack on Country A. Well, now we know Country A was Iran. And that Milley advised Trump against doing so. Well, when Trump greeted the writer, the publisher, and his 2 staff members, he said, "Look what I found. Look what I found. This is Mark Milley's plan of attack. Read it. Read it. It's interesting." These people had no security clearance. None whatsoever.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it, because you're sending it to Mar-a-Lago or to wherever you're sending it. And there doesn't have to be a process. There can be a process, but there doesn't have to be. You're the president. You make that decision. So when you send it, it's declassified. I declassified everything. Now, I declassified things, and we were having a lot of problems with NARA. You know, NARA is a radical left group of people running that thing. And when you send documents over there, I would say there's a very good chance that a lot of those documents will never be seen again.
Isn't that interesting? He has a feeling that some of those documents will never be seen again. I wonder why he had that feeling that some of those documents would never be seen again. All right. This is the conversation caught on tape. This is Donald Trump in his own voice. This is what the jury, if there's a jury trial, this is what they will be played. This is what they will hear. Okay. This is from the Bedminster, New Jersey meeting with Mark Meadows, publisher, and Mark Meadows, co-writer or ghostwriter, or whatever we're going to call that person. And this conversation was recorded, and Trump is in the room with 2 of his staffers, and he's referring to General Mark Milley, and greets the publisher and the writer and his 2 staff members. And he walks in the room and he says this, and this is quoted, so this is on tape, okay? He says, "Look what I found. This was Mark Milley's plan of attack. Read it." And it just shows, oh, it's interesting. It's interesting. Read it. Read it. Now, these people have no security clearance. So this is the violation of the Espionage Act, okay? This is the reason why we have an Espionage Act that says can't willfully retain the secrets of the United States of America and keep them in a place that isn't secure, which is why they raided Magaloka, we now know. Because here, Brett, if you want to, you could show the photograph of the spilled documents, the way that they treated these documents. So the documents are just like splayed all over the floor. See that right there? That is the storage room. And all these documents are just all over the floor. They're just, and the storage room is accessible by anybody who needed linens, anybody who needed to restock the bars. Okay. It's a storage freaking room. Before that, he had him in a bathroom. He had him literally in a, look at that. That's the bathroom. You see the shower there? And the box. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And he lied about all of this. Okay. Anyway, now he's telling these people at Bedminster, where there are classified documents, that they should read this document, and it's our attack plan that Milley actually gives to Donald Trump so that he can see what an attack on Iran would actually require, as he's telling Donald Trump, don't attack Iran on your way out the door, okay? And so Donald Trump says, well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. Okay, meaning he's taking the document from somebody. He's like, let me see that, meaning he passed this document. So he did disseminate classified, top secret defense plans to people who have no security clearance in his summer house in Bedminster, New Jersey, where we were all wondering, did he bring documents there too? Yeah, he did. He says, well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. See, he said I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, this was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, okay? But they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Meaning, this is Mark Milley giving me the attack plan for Iran, and he's using this as evidence that Mark Milley trusted him not to attack Iran, or that Mark Milley wanted to attack Iran. I mean, he's literally taking what Mark Milley was cautioning him not to do as a reason to show that Mark Milley was telling him to attack Iran. Okay. And so the writer who's writing for Mark Meadows, who's in this meeting, he says, wow. He's stunned. And Trump says, we looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. God, he's so repetitive. It's so annoying. All sorts of stuff, pages long. Look. And he shows him the document. And the staffer goes, And Trump says, wait a minute, let's see here. And the staffer starts laughing. And then Trump says, I just found, isn't that amazing? I just found, this totally wins my case, you know. Not this case. He means the case that Milley didn't trust him to not attack Iran, because he's showing them, these people who have no clearance whatsoever, the attack plan for Iran that Milley gave Donald Trump. He said, except it's like highly confidential. And the staffer says, yeah, it is, and laughs. And Trump says, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack and, by the way, isn't this incredible? And the staffer says, yeah. And Trump says, I was just thinking, because we were talking about it, and, you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran, and the staffer said, you did? And he said, this was done by the military. This was given to me. I think we could probably, and the staffer says, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to try to, and Trump says, declassify it? And the staffer said, figure it out. Yeah. And then Trump says, see, as president, I could have declassified it, but now I can't, you know, but it's still secret. And the staffer tells him, yeah, that's right. And now we have a problem. And Trump says, isn't that interesting? At the time of this exchange, the writer, the publisher, and Trump's two staff members did not have security clearances or any need to know any classified information about a plan of attack on country A, which is Iran. That's what's in the indictment. Now we go to August or September of 2021, when he's no longer the president, and Trump meets at the Bedminster Club in his office with a representative of his political action committee. And during the meeting, he commented that an ongoing military operation in country B was not going well. I'm guessing that had to do with Russia invading Ukraine, but I don't know. Trump showed the PAC representative a classified map of country B, and told the representative of this PAC that he should not be showing this map to the representative and for the representative not to get too close. The person that was representing the Political Action Committee did not have a security clearance or any need to know classified information about this ongoing military operation. That's sharing it. That's disseminating. That's not just willful retention, but that is willful dissemination. And that is why the Espionage Act is invoked here. On February 16, 2017, 4 years before the disclosures of classified information set forth above, Trump said at a press conference, quote, "The first thing I thought of when I heard about it is, how does the press get information that things are classified? I mean, how do they do it? You know why? That's an illegal process, and the press should be ashamed of themselves. But more importantly, the people that give out the information to the press, they should be ashamed of themselves, really ashamed." And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And they just use this to show you that Donald Trump understood that doing what he was doing was something to be ashamed of. Okay, so then in May, the National Archives, NARA, which he's talking about, is some left-wing, they're librarians is what they are. They're custodians of presidential records. That's what they do. They are responsible for archiving presidential records. They repeatedly demanded that Trump turn over presidential records that he kept after his presidency. On multiple occasions, beginning in June, NARA warned Trump through his representatives that if he did not comply, they would be referring the matter to the Department of Justice. They would be referring it to the Department of Justice. Between November 21 and 22 and January 22, Walter Nauta and Trump employee 2, at Trump's direction, brought boxes from the storage room to Trump's residence for Trump to review. It's hard not to laugh, right? On November 12, 2021, Trump employee 2 provided Trump a photograph of the boxes in the storage room by taping it to one of the boxes that employee 2 had placed in Trump's residence. Employee 2 provided Trump the photograph so that Trump could see how many of his boxes were stored in the storage room. The photograph depicts a wall of the storage room against which dozens of Trump boxes were stacked. And now the text messaging begins, because now NARA has asked for the boxes back, and Trump doesn't want to give the boxes back. And so Trump is now going to engage various other people in his conspiracy to commit crimes to cover up the fact that he, A, has them, B, that he's shown them to people who have no business seeing them, and C, that he's moving them from room to room.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Yeah, definitely not handling it well.
You want to talk about an insurrection? This is an insurrection. And that's exactly what's going on here. Let me go on. Joe Biden is the crookedest crook that's ever been in the Oval Office. Everywhere we look, there's a predicate for a special counsel. They won't appoint a special counsel, even though it's compelled under the law in which they appointed this special counsel.
What?
And you're not supposed to appoint a special counsel against your political opponent. You're supposed to appoint one in the case of Biden. 20 shell corporations. $10 million coming from the communist Chinese military, spread out among the family. No businesses to support this. Endless meetings with Biden's, with Hunter Biden's business partners. Bob Alinsky, who ties Joe Biden to the crimes. Mr. Big, Mr. 10%. And what does Biden say? Well, then where's the money?
Right.
He's asking us. Come and catch me if you can. No. The idea that this man isn't under a criminal investigation and that they criminalized that damn document case to go after Donald Trump is sickening. And I would say this to our fellow Americans. Don't be bamboozled by these cable channels and these fools who come on and tell you, well, he's not above the law. Are you kidding me? Democrat Attorney General in New York, Democrat prosecutor in Manhattan, Democrat prosecutor in Atlanta, Democrat Attorney General in Washington, D.C. What do you mean he's not above the law? There is no law. What's going on here is a disgusting disgrace.
Don't you have money to raise for Hillsdale College or some such crap, Mark? Don't you have money to raise for the Heritage Foundation? Don't you have to be their shill right now? What are you doing? What are you doing? So far, this president, this former president, has been indicted two times. One for falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments that he paid to porn star Stormy Daniels. Now, I don't think that what I say about that particular case, I said maybe Bragg is just doing a CYA if that's all there is. I don't care. Remember that? I don't think very many people did. Then E. Jean Carroll was able to bring a case in civil court, and she got a jury to agree that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her in a dressing room in Bergdorf Goodman's. Now we're looking at criminal indictment number 2. Okay. We also have a civil case where the Trump organization was found guilty of 17 counts of tax fraud. Okay. So we have falsifying business records, 17 counts of tax fraud, and an assault on E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room in Bergdorf Goodman in Manhattan, all guilty. Okay. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Now you have indictment number 2. This is federal indictment. Okay, federal indictment having to do with the willful retention without security, without protecting, without, and actually then willfully disseminating classified defense information to people who have no need to know, no business to know, no clearances to know, and just bragging and handing them documents to go, look at that, look at that, look at that. And looking at maps of an ongoing, I have to believe it's Russia. I mean, it's so unbelievable. Now Donald Trump actually met with Russians in the Oval Office without any what we call note takers. And people were, note takers? What's a note taker? No, we actually have them. We have them to document all presidential conversations, especially with adversaries, especially with foreign governments, even if they're allies, for the record, for the presidential record that will be archived post-presidency, okay? So we have a meeting with the Russians in the Oval Office. We have him sharing Iranian, remember this? Everybody saw it. You saw it. I saw it. We have no need to know. We have no clearance. He tweeted, when he was still on Twitter, satellite photos of Iran. Satellite photos of Iran's military, of Iran's, nuclear facilities. He tweeted that. Then he shows documents at dinner in Magaloko. Remember that? The TV captured him showing, I don't know if it was the Japanese ambassador, somebody who was just, and some presidential advice was sought during some contretemps during that day. And he puts, he allows a foreign government to listen in. He uses burner phones. He burned. He flushed. He tore. Remember, he was tearing documents and people didn't know what to do because those are presidential records. And so they were taping things back together. Remember that? And now in the end, he steals documents and shows them to people who aren't authorized to see them and then lies about it, not just to his staff, not just to his attorneys, implicating them in a criminal conspiracy, okay, but also to the FBI. Yeah. And obstructs an investigation yet again, which is his, his MO. I mean, he has a modus operandi. He has a way that he operates. And that's what the Mueller report actually, the volume 2 of the Mueller report was all about. All these instances, there were 10 of them, where Donald Trump tried to obstruct the Mueller investigation. And the only reason why Donald Trump wasn't indicted during that period of time is because he was the president, which is why he wants to be the president again. He wants to be the president again so he can, I swear to God, be immunized, because this isn't going to come to trial. Likely this isn't going to come to trial before the election of 2024. I doubt it. It could. But, he's the master of delay. We do have a rocket docket here in Florida, meaning that, the judges like to keep things rolling in their courtrooms. But we do have this question about what to do with these classified documents. Are we going to have a jury that has to apply for security clearance? I mean, how do you even present these classified documents to a jury that is not authorized to see them? Does the judge have a security clearance? Because I know in D.C. a lot of them do, because they have to, convict, like Lieutenant Colonel Robert Burcham. Okay, he was just convicted, given 3 years for doing exactly this. And why was Lieutenant Colonel Robert Burcham hoarding classified documents? Because he was a hoarder. He actually had PTSD. He was deployed to Iraq, I think 6 or 7 times, this guy. And the last time he was deployed, he literally was in treatment for PTSD, and we still drafted. Well, I won't say drafted because you'll misconstrue what I mean, but we still told him to go to deploy to a war zone. Anyway, he obviously was suffering from PTSD. He obviously had been through a lot. And this Lieutenant Colonel, Robert Burcham, was hoarding classified documents, and he got caught, and he cooperated. He said, yes, I did. I took these documents. I shouldn't have. Listen, I'm not myself. I had 6 deployments. My 6th and final combat deployment happened after I was diagnosed with PTSD. And so, I don't know. I wasn't behaving correctly. So they found a thumb drive, and they found a couple of classified documents stashed in his house and in a storage pod, the pods, parked in his driveway. He cooperated, and he got 3 years. Trump did not cooperate, and he's looking at 10 years, 20 years actually, just for the obstruction, 20 years for lying to the FBI. So, yeah, he'll die in jail. Anyway, and this has, Mark Levin, all his panties are just in a giant bunch. He's beside himself.
That bubble he calls a head is about to bust.
Well, he's always been like, there, I said it. I mean, I had the show that was before him and Hannity's show. I mean... But last night, Hannity, because, I had to watch Fox to see how they're going to deal with this, revelation. But last night, the document was sealed. Last night, this indictment was sealed, and nobody knew exactly what was in it. And so they were reporting there were 7 counts, and one was conspiracy. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. 37 counts, okay? A conspiracy and a conspirator also indicted in the same indictment. And violations of everything from lying to the FBI to, the Espionage Act violations of not just willfully retaining and not securing classified information, but showing it to people, disseminating it. That's dangerous.
I watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
It's always fun to listen in retrospect. Now that we know what we know, listen to him.
There's also a lot of speculation because of what they did, the severity of the FBI coming and raiding Mar-a-Lago. Were they looking for the Hillary Clinton emails that were deleted, but they are around someplace?
Oh, my God.
Were they looking for the spying on Trump's...
you had it.
No, they may be saying, they may have thought that it was in there.
Okay.
And a lot of people said the only thing that would give the kind of severity that they showed by actually coming in and raiding with many, many people is the Hillary Clinton deal, the Russia stuff, or... I mean, there are a number of things. The spying on Trump's campaign. So they spied on my campaign. So why did they come in and do that?
I'm telling you, insanity. Because now when you go back and you listen to what he's saying to you, what he's saying to the country, what he was saying to a giant audience that was tuned in for this all those many months ago, okay? And he knew exactly why they were there. He knew that he had moved hundreds of materials. He knew that he had taken them to Bedminster. He knew what Walter Nauta was doing. He knew that he moved them from a stage to a bathroom, and from a bathroom to a shower, and then into his office. Then he took them to Bedminster, and he put them in his living room in Bedminster, some of them, and some of them he left in his residence. Some were in his desk. And he was sharing them with people unauthorized with no security clearances or no need to know. War plans of active operations that were going on. And also, Milley's, operational plan for Iran should we ever attack, so that Trump would understand what it meant to say he would attack Iran. Just handing these come here, look at this. Look at the, and he actually has the balls to sit on Hannity and say, you know what they were looking for? They were looking for Hillary's emails. That's the only thing that would. No, remember, they had videotape. They had surveillance tape that somebody, showed them about these, and then when the FBI first went and made their cursory evaluation of whether or not the National Archives had a genuine beef with him, they saw documents. You remember, they saw all these documents in storage rooms, and they said, you better put a lock on that. Remember? They saw those documents. They knew they were there, so they went back to try and get a subpoena. And Donald Trump understood what was going to happen, and so he instructed these two employees, Walter Nauta and another guy who's not named, and I don't know why. Maybe he's trying to enter into a deal. Maybe he has entered into a deal. I don't know. But there's two staffers that are responsible for moving all these boxes, okay? And they're on tape. They're on tape and texting each other, and their texts have been turned over, so that kind of says to me that one actually cooperated and the other one didn't, and Nauta didn't. And Nauta is indicted here too, not just for doing this, but for lying to the FBI about doing this. And his FBI interview transcript is here. It's here. There's also a text message from somebody from the Trump family that isn't identified except as a female. As a female. And we know that because pronouns. On May 30th, 2022, at 12:33 p.m., a Trump family member texted Walter Nauta. Good afternoon, Walt. Happy Memorial Day. I saw you put boxes in POTUS's room, just FYI, and I will tell him as well. Not sure how many he may want to take on Friday on the plane. We will not have room for them. Plane will be full of luggage. Thank you. So at that point, I don't know who that is. But then, good afternoon, ma'am. Smiley face emoji. Oh, ma'am. Hey, it's Ivanka. I doubt it's Melania. The English is perfect. Thank you so much. I think he wanted to pick from them. I don't imagine wanting to take the boxes. He told me to put them in the room and that he was going to talk to you about them. Whoops. So Ivanka knows about them too. That means Jared knows about them too. Now, this is what eventually happened. This tape here has no audio. But here you see a scene out of Succession. No. That is not Logan Roy and his family. That is Donald Trump getting on his private plane for a trip to Bedminster. This is the exact trip that is being referred to in these texts between Ivanka and Walt Nauta. Now, there's a box. Here it comes. See that box? There's some more boxes. There's some more boxes being loaded onto the plane. Don't let him bring the boxes. We don't have room. They'll be full of luggage, which was their way of waving him off. Okay? Now, here, we're going to see boxes that are covered. See? They're covered in black. I don't know what it's made out of. I can't, I can't allege or assert. But I will tell you that in this indictment, he tells Walt Nauta that the boxes have too much writing on them and that, he understood that there would be cameras here. And he didn't want the press to be able to read. Here, see these boxes? They're all wrapped up in black. And duffel bags and all that crap, because he didn't want the press to be able to see the markings on the box. So Walter actually takes care of that for him. In a text message, he says that one thing he asked was for new covers for the boxes for Monday. This is Memorial Day, May 8th, 2021. And he said, can we get new box covers before giving these to them on Monday? They have too much writing on them. I marked them too much. And employee number 2 responds to Walt and says, yeah, I'll get to that. I'll do it. And there's the video that backs up that happened. I mean, and the next, I'll say 3 pages of this indictment, they actually attest to how many boxes were moved and when they were moved. And you're talking 15 boxes that were turned over. And now you're talking what was in those boxes. 14 of the boxes contained documents with classification markings. This is what he gave the FBI. Remember, he gave him 15 boxes and we all thought, oh, well, he surrendered everything, right? 197 of those documents had classification markings. 98 were marked secret. 30 were marked top secret. The remainder were marked confidential. Some of them had the SEI, secret compartmented intelligence, meaning they separate the whole story and they just give you pieces of the story to people who need to work on that part of the story, compartmented. And then SAP, which means special access, that's... people that actually have to do stuff or tell people in the field about stuff, or people who are in the field. Okay, special access. So he had some of that too. And everybody thought, well, he turned him over, nothing to see here. Okay. Well, then the FBI actually visits, right? And the FBI actually sees the surveillance tape, and the FBI sees there were hundreds of boxes. And they see videotapes of people moving the boxes. And that's when they go back to the court and they ask for, that's when they go to the court in the first place, and they ask for a subpoena. That's May 11th. They ask the grand jury for a subpoena. And they realize that there are more boxes, and he's not producing. He's not, he's lying. This is when he gets his attorneys involved. And we now know the attorneys were Evan Corcoran and Christina Bopp. And Evan Corcoran says, let me come and let me look and let me see what you still have. And then I can write a letter saying you don't have anything, but I need to come and check. So on May 22nd, 2022, is a year after he's moved everything, he shows up there.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Bad things came out today. Those classified. You know the word classified. This was not just extreme carelessness with classified material, which is still totally disqualifying. This is calculated, deliberate, premeditated misconduct. The Secretary of State was extremely careless and negligent in handling our classified secrets. She lied about passing on classified information, right? In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. She said she sent nothing more classified. A total lie. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified. Put classified information in the reach of our enemies. Classified, confidential. They're so classified, they're beyond classified. And maybe classified at the highest level. How sad.
Talk about projection, baby. Oh, my God. It's amazing. This is like the full circle moment. This is like the height of irony. This is an O. Henry play. Really, it is. I mean, lock her up, lock him up. Honestly, and the idea that they're moving these boxes. We left off with that little videotape. So that videotape was May 8th of 2021. They get the subpoena almost a year to the day later. That's how long it took them to get the subpoena. So they didn't get the subpoena until May 11th, 2022. Yeah. And by then, Walt Nauta and the other employee and his lawyers and everybody else, I mean, they're like moving stuff, just putting it everywhere. And so anyway, he gets the subpoena. He calls his lawyer, right? And he says, I just got the subpoena, the office of Donald J. Trump, requiring the production of all documents with classification markings in the possession, custody, or control of Trump or the office of Donald J. Trump. And the two attorneys that are representing Donald Trump, it's, obviously now in the indictment it says Trump attorney 1 and 2. But we know who those people are now, and it makes it so much more readable and easy to follow the story. Evan Corcoran is attorney 1, and Christina Bopp is attorney number 2. Okay? So the subpoena is issued on the 11th. On May 22nd, 2022, Walter Nauta enters the storage room at Magalocco at 3:47. He leaves 34 minutes later carrying one of Trump's boxes. The next day, May 23rd, Trump meets with Attorney 1 Evan Corcoran and Christina Bopp at Magalocco to discuss what the response to the 11th subpoena should be. So Corcoran and Bopp tell Trump they need to do a search. They need to search for the documents and any documents that would be responsive, right, to the subpoena. They would need to turn back over to, the FBI now, or they could attest in a certification letter that they had searched and that you are in compliance with the subpoena, meaning you have nothing. You have no documents that would be responsive to the subpoena for anything at all that has classified markings on it of any kind, okay? And so he says to them, he makes the following statements to them, among others, as Evan Corcoran's notes memorialize. Evan Corcoran is taking notes of everything his dirty client is saying, okay? And that's why Evan Corcoran flips, okay? Because he knows he's going to jail too because he was read into this by Donald Trump. So he tells Donald Trump this. He says, A, I don't want anybody looking. I don't want anybody looking through my boxes. I really don't. I don't want you looking through my boxes. That's number one. Number two, he then suggests to Evan Corcoran this. Well, what happens if we just don't respond at all? What if we don't play ball with them? Number three, he says, wouldn't it be better if we don't have anything here? Number four, well, look, isn't it better if there are no documents? This is why Evan Corcoran was read into the crime, the caper. And this is when Evan Corcoran understands he better take notes. And this is what Evan Corcoran writes down after that meeting. And this is what is now in this indictment as being Evan Corcoran's notes that commemorate May 23rd, 2022, when Donald Trump tells him, I don't want you looking in my boxes. I have boxes that are responsive, and I don't want anybody to know about it. Then he brags about how Hillary Clinton's lawyers did a great job. He says this. He said, it says attorney. I'm guessing this is David Kendall. I don't know who the attorney he's referring to is, but he tells the following story, and he tells it multiple times during the day, that day. He says, attorney was great. He did a great job. You know what he said? He said that if it were him, that if he was the one who deleted all the emails, the 30,000 emails, because they basically dealt with her scheduling and her going to the gym and her having her beauty appointments. And so he could delete them because he had access to her computer, and he was great. And so she didn't get in any trouble because he said that he was the one who deleted all the emails. She turned over 30,000 emails. You know that, right? Okay. Anyway, he tells that story repeatedly that day, according to the indictment. He also confirms his understanding with Evan Corcoran that Evan Corcoran would return to Magalocco on the 2nd of June to look for any more documents with classification markings so that he could respond to the May 11th subpoena. And Corcoran actually makes it clear to Trump that he needs to conduct a search. And he has to find whether or not there are any documents on the premises that are responsive to the subpoena before he can write a certification letter. And Trump indicates to him, well, I want to be at Magalocco when you do it. I want to be there when you search. I need to be there. So he changes his plans for the summer, and he leaves Bedminster early, and he goes down to Magalocco in June so that he could be with Evan Corcoran when Evan Corcoran searches the property. Okay? And then he tells Christina Bopp she doesn't need to be there at all. She shouldn't be there for the review of the boxes. She shouldn't show up. After meeting with Corcoran and Bopp on May 23rd, he delays his departure from Magalocco. Oh, and I'm sorry. He was going from Magalocco to New Jersey for the summer because that's what people here in Florida do. They don't stay here now. They don't stay here during June, July, August, September. Everybody gets the hell out of here and goes north. They're called snowbirds. He's one of those, okay? So he delays his departure to New Jersey so he could be at Magalocco on the 2nd of June when Corcoran is going to review the boxes. Well, Between May 23rd, the meeting that he had with Christina and Evan to discuss how to respond to the subpoena, Walter Nauta removes 64 boxes from the storage room and brings them to Trump's residence. On May 24th, 2022, between 5:30 and 5:38, Walter Nauta removed 3 boxes from the storage room. On May 30th, they spoke by phone for 30 seconds, and then Nauta removed 50 more boxes from the storage room. And then on May 20th, that's when the female member of the Trump family texts Walter and says, do not put them on the airplane to Bedminster. Do not. There's no room. It's full of luggage. And he does it anyway.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent.
This is warfare for the law, and we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump.
And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination.
They're trying to destroy your reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election.
People have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong.
It sort of does make Richard Nixon look like a Boy Scout, like a schoolboy. You know what I mean? So here's basically the timeline of what happened after the subpoena. So the subpoena's been issued. He tells Evan Corcoran, "Oh, I don't want you to search. I don't want you to look at my boxes. I don't want you to see. Why don't we just get rid of the boxes? Why don't we just say we don't have any boxes? Hillary's lawyer would do it. Hillary's lawyer would delete her stuff. Why don't you just be a good lawyer and do that for me?" Right? And now Evan Corcoran knows he's been read into a crime, and that Trump intends to lie to the Department of Justice because the subpoena was issued by the NARA through the Department of Justice, right? Okay, so May 23rd, there's that meeting, and Evan Corcoran understands he better start taking notes, he better start recording his client, he better start doing things to cover his ass. He's just been told that the former of the United States of America, is going to commit acts of espionage, that he's going to willfully, illegally retain classified, top secret, compartmentalized intelligence, that he's conspiring with others to hide the boxes, he's going to obstruct a subpoena, he's going to lie. He's already witness tampering. He's tampering with his lawyers. He's tampering with the staff at Magaloco, and he intends to lie to the FBI. All those things he does do. All of those things are charged in this particular indictment. So May 23rd, he has that meeting, and Corcoran understands he's on notice. On May 24th, the next day, they start moving boxes. They move 3 boxes. I don't know what's in those 3, but those 3 were the most important to him to get moved. A couple days later, May 30th, they move 50 boxes, okay? Then on Memorial Day, he loads a whole bunch of boxes that are shrouded in some black and that are, the writing is, whited out so nobody can read what's on the boxes, which are clearly markings of classification, status, etc. And he loads them onto the plane. And then on June 1st, Corcoran, who had made plans to inspect the place on June 2nd so he could write his certification letter, he confirms with Trump, "I'm coming tomorrow to do the inspection. Is that okay? You're going to be there, right? You said you wanted to be there. I'm just confirming that tomorrow I'm going to come." Well, that day he moves 11 more boxes. Okay, that day they ended up moving almost 100 boxes ahead of Corcoran's inspection. Okay, so on the afternoon of June 2nd, just like, Trump had been informed, Corcoran arrives at Magaloco to look at the boxes for classification to see if anything is responsive to the May 11th subpoena. Trump meets with Corcoran, before they conduct the review, and Walter Nauta escorts Mr. Corcoran to the storage room. This happens between 3:53 and 6:23 in the evening, and Evan Corcoran reviews the contents of the boxes in the storage room. He finds, even after they moved everything, he finds 38 documents. This is what we heard. Remember? We heard, he found 38 documents. That's all that he saw because everything else had been moved, which we didn't know until today. 38 documents with classification markings, which were inside some boxes. And so he placed those in a red weld folder. He put clear duct tape on the storage room. He asked Walter Nauta to put clear duct tape on the storage room to protect the storage room. And Walter Nauta did that. And Corcoran used the duct tape to seal the folder that he collected the 38 documents in, the ones that had classification markings on, inside too. He uses duct tape. Okay. So after Corcoran finishes sealing the red weld folder containing the documents with the classification markings that he had found inside Trump's boxes, Nauta takes Corcoran to the dining room in the Magaloco Club to meet with Trump. And this is just pure Trump. Okay, this is stunning. So after Corcoran finishes his, discovery, finishes and finds 38 documents, Trump says, "Did you find anything? Is it bad?" The sweet little country mouse who's been moving boxes for weeks now, okay, and putting them on his plane. You can see him in that videotape standing at the stairs of the plane, and they're moving the boxes into the plane, and he's taking them to Bedminster. Anyway, Corcoran and Trump discuss what's in that folder, and that they have classification markings on it, and that Corcoran needs to, bring them to his hotel room and put them in a safe there. And during that conversation, Trump says, well, he doesn't say, he makes this plucking motion. And Corcoran writes this down. And here's how Evan Corcoran's notes read. He made a funny motion as though, well, okay, why don't you take them with you to your hotel room? And if there's anything really bad in there, pluck it out. Pluck it out. And that was the motion he made. If there's anything bad in there, he said, and then made a motion to pluck it out. He didn't say pluck it out, though. This is what's in Evan Corcoran's notes. Well, that night, Corcoran contacts the Department of Justice and asks for an FBI agent to meet him at Magaloco the next day, June 3rd, so he could turn over documents that were responsive to the subpoena. That night, Corcoran contacts another Trump attorney, attorney number 3, that's Christina Bobb, and asks her if she would come to the Magaloco Club the next morning and act as a custodian of records. And sign a certification regarding the search for documents with classification markings on them in response to the May 11th subpoena. She was told, don't come. Remember? He said, don't you come. When he does the inspection, you stay back. You don't go. You don't look. Okay? She says, yeah, I'll sign off on it. I'll sign anything, basically, is what her opinion was. And so the next day, at Corcoran's request, which is why he is involved in a crime, Christina Bobb signs a certification as the custodian of records for the office of Donald J. Trump, takes it to the Magaloco Club, and gives it to the Department of Justice and the FBI. She performed no search of the Trump boxes, and she signs off on a document that says, a diligent search was conducted of the boxes that were moved from the White House to Florida. This search was conducted after receipt of the subpoena in order to locate any and all documents that are responsive to the subpoena. Any and all responsive documents accompany this certification. Everything in that was false. Everything in that was false. And that's how we end up here. So they have a false certification. They have 2 attorneys that are committing crimes with Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump has the nerve to say, they were looking for Hillary's emails, and I'm an open book. This man is such a con artist. It is just, it's bizarre. So here we have him indicted the first time for 34 counts of business document fraud, meaning in the hush money case. He's guilty of sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll at a jury trial. And now we have criminal indictment 2 from the feds, which includes illegal retention of documents, illegal dissemination of documents, conspiracy to cover all that up, an obstruction of justice, witness tampering and a conspiracy to cover up, and a conspiracy to lie to the FBI, and actual lying to the FBI. We're not even in Atlanta yet, where there's obviously a RICO case that's percolating, okay? And that includes the Republican Secretary of State, Mark Levin, and the Republican governor of Georgia, who also participated in being witnesses against Donald Trump for the district attorney in Fulton County. And then we still have Jack Smith, who's still out there, still doing work. Although the indictment has been issued in the Miami case, and the reason why it's in Miami is because the bulk of the crimes happened here. I mean, I guess he had his choice. Could have brought it in Washington, where the documents were originally stolen. Could have brought it in New Jersey, where the documents were illegally, transferred. But the bulk of the crimes, the conspiracy to obstruct, the retention of the although I will say the dissemination of the intelligence material happened in New Jersey. So, he had to choose his venue carefully. But we're not even up to January 6th yet. We're not even up to sending fake electors. We're not even up to the violence that was visited on our Capitol. We're not even up to any of that stuff yet. And that really ought to do it for any sensible voter in this country. The cult members are going to do whatever the cult leader tells them to do, including drink the Kool-Aid. Something Evan Corcoran and Christina Bobb thought they were prepared to do. Yeah, not so much. No. Have a great weekend.